Welcome to episode number 22 of the Castbar. The WoW token is launched and now people are throwing their money at Blizzard like never before. Dinner with the devs sound good? How about cheating in an arena? We have information on both inside. We discuss podcasting in general and wrap it up with a review of the Nexus. Thank you and enjoy. Welcome to episode number 22 of the Castbar, the World of Warcraft podcast channeling your content with no interrupts. Today is Sunday, April 12th at approximately 7:11 Pacific Standard Time. My name is Michael Schwahn, and with me I have Evan.
How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing good. And Florian.
Hey there.
Welcome, guys. Welcome to another wonderful week. How have you guys been doing? What have you guys been up to?
Oh, just hanging out, continuing our progression in our group. Blackrock Foundry, now we have started dipping our toes into Heroic, which I've done unofficially on my own, but doing it as a group is kind of a milestone for us.
Right on. What about you, Florian? What have you been up to?
Pretty much just the same as usual. Just various random bits of gaming here and there. Not really that much WoW, unfortunately, because our internet is still crap. Hopefully they'll get fixed soon, though.
Hopefully. I have been trying to do Noblegarden, which screw this holiday. This holiday is terrible. Oh, God. So, it has one of those achievements in it where you gotta do something to it, like, there was one for, what was that holiday? For Love is in the Air, you know, you got to, like, kiss or something certain classes,
Right.
and race combinations. Well, this one has one of those too. It's called, we talked about it last week, the Shake Your Bunny Maker. You have to use that item on a female of each race, save for Panda. Well, the problem is that the item that you use for that achievement has a 5-minute cooldown. So I have to continue. I'll be like standing here waiting for it to cool down. I'm like, oh, there goes a female goblin that I'll never see again. Oh, good job, bye. And the other thing is you have to get certain things out of the, well, fortunately for the meta achievement that for the, long strain trip it's been, you don't need these, but two of the achievements are completely luck-based in that right. You, have to open certain items out of the eggs. Screw that. The items that they want out of the eggs have like a 0.15% chance. Depressingly, I'm not upset about it, but it's depressing. I got the mount out of the eggs before I got one of those pieces of gear, which are just white pieces of gear. It's like a wedding gown, and then for the other achievement, you need both the top and bottom half of the tuxedo. I've gotten the wedding gown, and I've gotten half of the tuxedo, but I honestly don't know if I'll get the other achievement. Luckily, I don't need it for the meta. All I need is to find a bunch of females of races that are uncommon.
But where do females gather? Are you on an RP server?
Unfortunately not. I am, yesterday I was like, alright, finding some females. Most of the ones I need are Horde, because Alliance are pretty easy to pick up. Although I still need the Black Sheep or whatever you call it, because I need a female dwarf, and we all know those don't exist. But I found a Blood Elf and a Tauren female, because this holiday lined up right alongside with, the Dark Moon Fair, and there's Horde and Alliance both in there. So I found two of them there, and I found an Undead, and that's the only female I've found here. I've seen a Troll and a Goblin run by, but my stupid item was on cooldown, so I wasn't able to throw some bunny ears on them. So right now I'm flying around Dalaran trying to spot them, because Dalaran actually has a very high amount of player traffic, which I am thankful for.
Interesting. I would think you just go to a capital city where most of the people are going to be, or the more popular auction houses.
I could go look in Orgrimmar, but I'm safe in Dalaran.
Oh, right. I forgot you're going across faction.
Things don't kill me here. And you can actually fly pretty low into, because Dalaran has, the faction little hallways, where if you're one or the other, you're not allowed, and it teleports you out. You can use the item while mounted, and it doesn't dismount you, so that's really nice. And you can actually fly pretty low into those areas. So I'm just kind of hovering around there, and then the place where the portal brings you to from, like, the shrines. And just bouncing between the two until I find them. And I've had pretty decent luck so far.
Well, if you're looking for a female dwarf, I recommend going to Keranos or Coldridge Valley.
The problem is that they have to be level 18.
Oh, are you serious? That's kind of
because they have to be of age. They have to be of age to shake their bunny maker.
Oh, wow. That's just...
It's rude.
Weird signals.
No, what it is rude. Because it's just, like, I can't, like, I even did that with the Spring is in the Air one. I had, my significant other make, like, I think I couldn't, like, find a troll rogue or something like that, and she just made one real quick, and I went over and threw chocolates at him, or whatever you had to do. But this one, I'm not even able to do that unless, you wanted to, spend...
Level them up to 18.
Yeah. Fistful of Love was the Valentine's one. You had to throw rose petals at a bunch of different class and race combinations. This one, all you need is females of each race. What? I'm sorry.
We are going to be recording for the next 2 hours or so. I'm going to hop on your server and make a female dwarf. Level them up to 18 to see if I can do it by the time we finish up.
Do you have heirlooms?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you should be able to then. It shouldn't be that hard. Those first, 40 levels go really quick.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyway. Let's go ahead and move into the news, shall we? But if you do that, I will appreciate you greatly, because those things don't exist. And if they do, you don't realize it's a chick. I'm having to click on everything anyway, but it's like, oh, it's a dwarf. I guarantee you it's a dude. I'm actually having a lot of trouble finding an orc female. I've seen goblin and troll, which are just, I didn't have the item on cooldown, so that's unfortunate. But I haven't seen an orc female or a dwarf female, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway, moving into the news. Welcome to the news, everybody. So, there's not a whole lot of, breaking news this week. In fact, there's been a lull in WoW news in general, but we do our best to ensure that we give you a full show regardless. One big thing that happened in the news this week is that we have the Wow, listen to me. The WoW token has launched. And for something that's a big deal, it really just doesn't feel like it's impacted anything. Maybe just because it's such a background thing, but it's just felt completely like, oh, okay, that happened. I'm glad that's in the game now. Moving along.
Right. So,
have either of you bought or sold a token?
No, not yet. No.
Do you intend to?
I don't think so. I think the way I interact with the WoW economy is already pretty optimized, and I don't find myself wanting in that capacity.
Sure.
I'm not overflowing with real life cash to the extent required. I'm not overflowing with in-game cash to the extent that it would be necessary, or frugal. Definitely not frugal.
Yeah, I can definitely see myself buying some tokens to sell for gold in the future, but not right now. I'm kind of taking a wait and see approach.
Sure.
We'll see what happens with the prices, because right now I just don't feel like it gives enough gold for the amount you pay for it to really be worth it.
Well, yeah, correct. Because the WoW token was $20. And they started because they have to set the market somewhere, right? So they had to start it, and they set it at 30K as a starting price. And then depending on supply and demand, the price would go up and down from then forward. And it is currently sitting around 21,500. Which is really low for the people that are wanting to spend money. Good if you're wanting game time. But, I'm on Florian's same boat of that. For what it costs, that's about $1 for 1,000 gold, and that's just not very good.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a little bit on the low side. But I mean, it depends on where you're at in your gold, because as we know, if you're max level 1,000 is a whole lot different than if you're level 40. And, maybe if I was just getting into the game, this would make buying things on the auction house a whole lot more accessible. That's where I might say, hey, $1,000 for $1, or 1,000 gold for $1 is like a pretty sweet deal. I mean, I don't have to worry about buying anything. I get plenty of, 20 slot bags, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe the end game audience isn't going to benefit as much as a different kind of portion of the player base.
Sure. The only problem I have is just because we get so much gold now from everything that it's like 20,000 gold does not take very long to get. So, like, that's good for if you don't want to spend money on your game time, but if you're looking to, make some actual gold off of this, then it doesn't have the value in it. And then if you're like me, which, I mean, if I was completely broke, I would definitely consider it, but I don't ever put myself to a point where I'm completely broke. And anything that I'd want off the auction house that I would consider buying gold for, the money to gold ratio isn't good enough, because the stuff that I want is like trading card mounts or something like that cost anywhere from 100 to 300,000, sometimes 400,000 gold, depending on the mount.
Right.
And so, right now at that exchange, it's like $100 to like $400, in which just buying one of the cards would be cheaper.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's hard to... I don't know, and that's just a product of Blizzard not setting the kind of price themselves,
Right. Well, I mean, it should be allowed to fluctuate, but, I mean... We knew that there was going to be a very large number of people who were buying the tokens to sell for gold, just because with that option available now, they would, why wouldn't you want to take advantage of it, right? The only thing on that is it flooded the market, which drops the price, but I just don't know if the price will ever recuperate and build itself back up, because now that, the people who were going to buy and sell a bunch have already bought and sold a bunch, but this is still the price that we're remaining at, is this 21.5. It fluctuates a little bit here and there. But after the whales essentially have come and gone, people who are going to, buy 100 tokens worth with their cash and sell it all for gold, and then the people who are going to use all the gold that they already had to buy a bunch of game time and not have to buy time for 2 years, they've probably already done that. So now it'll just be, more standard numbers of buying and selling. And so if the price just stays at 21,000, I don't know if that'll be a good thing or not.
Yeah, I wonder, long term, 6 months, 2 years from now, where the price will kind of fluctuate to. Obviously, when there's going to be an expansion that drives the value of gold down, it'll drive the price of the tokens up. Because there seems to be like kind of a gold. I want to say every time an expansion is released, gold has become less valuable, but actually, kind of reflecting on that statement as it was coming out of my mouth, I was trying to remember Mr. Pandaria and my kind of level of wealth then, and then comparing that to Warlords of Draenor. It isn't all that different, like it was from, for example, Cataclysm to Mr. Pandaria, I feel.
Sure.
I might be talking to my ass. Did you guys notice the same kind of thing? Generally, going from expansion to expansion, player wealth goes way up?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd be able to say why, but, we know that you're progressively getting more gold from quest rewards. That's just has been happening. I don't know what formula Blizzard uses or anything like that for the system, but quests are progressively giving more gold. The value of items seems to be... it's going up a little bit, because, every expansion, the items in it are worth just a little bit more and a little bit more. I mean, a weapon from...
just green drops or vendor trash kind of stuff.
Yeah, or 50, 60, sometimes 70 and 80 gold when you get into blues and epics and stuff, and that's a ridiculous amount of cash. In a perspective of things. compared to what, weapons used to sell for. I mean, I run Molten Core on my Rogue because I still need half of the bindings in the Windseeker, and the items out of there sell for like 3 gold, and they're epics,
right.
and it's just like, oh, woo!
Right.
So, I think that gold does keep going up, and this expansion over all others gives so much gold, because there's...
Do you think so?
Well, the garrisons provide a ton of gold from the missions. They also give you lots of items that you're going to be selling. There's just they give you so many resources in so many different fashions that you just gain tons and tons of gold through your garrison, whether it's from the items it sells you or anything like that. If you even the mats that it provides you. So the garrisons, I have seen more people with more gold this expansion than ever before. I don't think there was that much of a gold increase between Cataclysm to Mists, but I definitely think there was from Mists to Warlords. There is just so much gold running around right now. I don't know if I could say why, but there just definitely seems to be just tons and tons of gold all over the place.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested in seeing over the years, because I think once the system's in place, I mean, Blizzard's not going to cancel it or retire it unless it really isn't making any money, and it costs more to maintain it than it does than it brings in revenue. I don't see that happening necessarily, but barring that possibility, 5 years from now or another 10 years from now, I want to see what the kind of extremes are. What is the lowest this token's ever going to sell for? What's the highest it's ever going to sell for? And
well, in their little preview video, one of the screenshots showed someone getting ready to sell a token for like 53K, and I was like, oh baby, I'll be all over that. And now it's 20K, right. And I'm just like, oh, well, I'm not all over that.
I don't think that's all that unrealistic. I think the most notable is going to be probably the highs it's going to get. I think, how low can you drive the price? That really depends on people's real life kind of budget. And I don't think so many people are going to want to buy in-game gold, especially as the price goes down. I think when it's getting down to like 10,000 or something, people are just going to stop buying the tokens. It's going to drive the price back up. But when people become so rich that the coin gets to be 50K, 60, 100K, I think people will be buying it like crazy, and that'll drive the price down. But I wonder how high will it go before everybody's buying them, especially like me and Florian, who don't really want to. But when's the value going to be too good of a value to pass up?
Well, right now, gold buyers are still winning in terms of price. Now, obviously, that is not a safe system, I guess, is the best way to put it. There's lots of things,
right.
A lot of risk to be had with that. But right now, the price does not compete with them. But if we ever hit the 30K for $20 did compete with them. That was $1 for 1.5K, which is better than gold sellers.
Right.
So there was an advantage there. We are no longer beating them, which I feel is really important from Blizzard's standpoint, because they really don't like the concept of people who are selling gold, because it hurts everybody within the game.
Right.
So I think maybe Blizzard will take this and maybe set a minimum, and if it's set at 25K, setting it at 25K makes it competitive enough with the gold buyers. And then if it gets driven back up, cool, because anywhere up from there is just completely hurting the gold farmers in every way. And if it ever gets up to 40K, that is what I would consider optimum value, because that's 1 gold for 2K, which is I would love the 50K, and it was a little bit higher than that. I would just be yeah, I'm gonna totally buy some right now. But I would also be very excited to spend $20 to get 40K, because that is a good enough value in my perceived eyes currently.
I just wonder, like you were saying about Blizzard setting a minimum price, that gold has to... Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, if it works in there and kind of buy-sell dynamic system right there. But I was thinking that... if it hits these extreme highs and lows, if Blizzard's ever going to try to incentivize people spending money, because if everybody used their in-game gold to buy these tokens, then that means all of their subscription basically is being paid at this higher rate, $20 per month, right?
Well, remember, because these are region wide, so I don't know if this would ever happen. But remember that if there was theoretically, if there was 0 tokens that anyone was selling, you would not be able to buy one.
Right.
You can't buy one unless they are up for sale.
Correct.
So Blizzard never has to worry about that happening because no matter what, somebody's subscription is being paid. And if it's in a token, then they made $5 additional dollars off of it.
Right.
So that is never going to be a concern of Blizzard's because there is not a possible way for everyone to pay for their subscription this way.
Right, but if, I don't know, for some reason, if people weren't interested in buying the tokens because the value was low, then I guess it would work itself out. It's kind of just like the balancing equation. Blizzard wants people to buy these tokens, right, because it gives them a better return on providing the service, right?
Right.
They want people to buy tokens in the store and give the real cash to Blizzard. They don't care what happens to it really afterwards. But people aren't going to buy the tokens unless the tokens give you a good gold return. If it doesn't give you a good gold return, the prices are really low, then they won't buy the tokens. And if there are no tokens on the auction house, the price will go up, which will incentivize people to buy them again.
Yep,
so
it'll just continue to fluctuate.
Exactly. Which is pretty brilliant. I mean, honestly, we were kind of trying to speculate about how they would implement a system like that. We were thinking it was going to be like an actual in-game item. I guess they kind of really surprised everybody with introducing this new kind of exchange. I don't know if any of us saw that coming. I don't think we discussed it if we did. So I'm really kind of pleased that they pulled out something as creative as this, because it kind of reinforces this idea that Blizzard really likes breaking the mold of this kind of industry that they're in, and kind of proving that they have some of the best minds at work. And I like being a fan of their games for that reason. They always kind of deliver.
Yes, I completely agree. My only question is, because it seems to be that there is an algorithm in place here. Like, I think that the actual minimum price might be like $20K.
Right.
I'm just curious what the actual minimum is. Like, because I assume, based on how many they have for sale, is essentially like how many have sold in a certain amount of time or something like that is how they adjust the price. So, I mean, if it's like, if 100 is for sale and none have been bought in, an hour, then we set the price at, $25K. If 500 are for sale and no one has bought any in an hour, then it's $20K, and it can never go lower than that no matter how many people buy one. And, I just wonder what the actual minimum and maximum are. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I think my original prediction was 30 to 50, and with the way it is now, I think minimum is probably 20, maximum is probably 40. But it does make me question, though, because there was that screenshot that they were worth like 51.4 or something like that. Right. But that could, that was just an internal testing screenshot, so that might not be accurate with their actual numbers that they've established.
So it seems very optimistic. Like, I don't see it getting that high unless something drastically changes with the gold market. Simply because that's a whole ton of gold, considering the amount of value you get out of it. I think we're going to have an equilibrium, probably somewhere close to where we are right now.
Do you think it's already been established?
I wouldn't be surprised if the equilibrium winds up being around 30,000, because that seems to me like a good natural resting place, and Blizzard's already kind of set a precedent by releasing it at 30,000. So that kind of feels like they're almost saying to the players, 30,000 is what we think this is worth, and kind of planting that idea in our minds.
And I'm not sure if that
actually works. I'm not sure if that actually works economically, but that feels to me.
I think that's the best. Like, if they could or would just set a price, I think 30K is the best price, because 30K is attainable through in-game means. So you could easily make 30K in a month if you put some time towards it. That is not a stretch. And 30K is valuable enough that people will still buy the token. Because it is $1 for 1.5, which is a good exchange rate. Anyway, let's go ahead and get out of here and move on. Blizzard is holding a BlizzCon benefit dinner. I don't know. Was there one of these last year? I don't remember anything about this last year, but this is pretty cool. So what it is that the Thursday before BlizzCon, so the day before, you can have dinner with the devs. You have to buy a special ticket for this, and they didn't say how many there were, but I'm assuming there's not many. The ticket costs $750, so don't just be like, oh yeah. I mean, it is a significant amount. $750 for the ticket. You get to have dinner and everything with the devs at a pretty nice restaurant right there in Anaheim. Super cool. This is a cool thing that they're doing. And then all of the proceeds go to the Children's Hospital of Orange County. So all of the money goes to helping sick kids because Blizzard is, pretty awesome when they want to be.
For the children.
For the children. Not for us, though. Blizzard doesn't like us having fun. So, as long as it benefits somebody, either them or children, as long as it doesn't benefit us, they're good. And the $750 includes, a bunch of goodies, the goodie bag, your BlizzCon ticket itself. So this isn't an additional fee. Like, this is kind of like super mega VIP ticket because you get a whole bunch of extra stuff. And you get to go have dinner with the devs, which is really cool. I mean, if you have any type of questions at all, you should probably consider this because that would be your best chance to have them answered because you're sitting there having dinner with them.
Yeah, seriously. They're like, we don't want to talk shop necessarily. Just pass the cheese puffs or the gourmet artisan cheese puffs.
I think they would go into this completely expecting to talk shop.
Yeah. It'd be a little bit unsportsmanlike not to mention anything.
Oh god, can we please not talk about Blizzard? Let's talk about anything else. It's like, god, all these friggin' Blizzard nerds, they all just want to talk to us about Blizzard games. How dare they?
Yeah, incredibly wealthy Blizzard nerds, too. I mean, that's some serious fan dedication there. Or just the person who has a passing interest and is going to go to BlizzCon anyway and is quite the philanthropist. I would rather talk about, charities and speedboats or something.
Sure, I don't know. I don't know if I could ever justify the cost. Like, if I had the money, I would be able to justify the cost of going to BlizzCon. I don't have the money, though. But an extra $550 on top of the cost is a little bit steep just to have dinner. I mean, it'd be cool, but it is just dinner. And in reality, I mean, Mike Morhaime, all those people, they're just people. Sure, they're cool. They made the game we love, but in reality, they're still just people. I wouldn't pay an extra $1,000 to have dinner with Tom Cruise or anything like that. Would I like to meet the guy? Would I like to talk to him? Sure. But in the end, he's still just a person. And I don't need to spend a ridiculous amount of money just to talk to said person.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, and then there's also the charity aspect of it too, which is really good. So, we know Blizzard's not just doing a cash grab.
Right.
Their $750 cash grab dinner.
That would be insane.
If they're just pocketing all of it, I would have been like, oh, okay, well, I mean, if you have the money...
screw you too, Blizzard. If you're low on money, you should just tell us. Then maybe we'll be a little bit more inclined to help you.
Would it come, or would people still come? Would there be anybody there if it was $750 for a dinner with the devs? And it was just like you bought your ticket in the Blizzard store and the money didn't go to anything except their coffers.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody. I mean, we've seen the WoW players that have money. They're, look at the multi-boxers.
Yeah,
Those
exactly.
people have money from something. Some of them tell us, some of them don't. But it's like, yeah, I manage 14 WoW accounts, 22 WoW accounts at all times. It's like, right. Oh god, dude, I would be broke.
Now imagine multi-boxing for charity. Say I'll open 14 WoW accounts, but you're gonna have to cure sick children with the proceeds. That'd be funny. A little bit off topic though. I think it's a pretty cool idea, and I think it, making themselves available in the public space to say, hey, come and meet us, and we'll give you all of our time and attention, sit down, have a meal. It's a little bit different from going to BlizzCon where you might have a chance to have like a elevator conversation with a dev after waiting in line to get something signed, or after a panel, or just meeting them on the floor. I think a lot of the employers do walk around during the event and just enjoy the con like everybody else. And if you're serendipitous, maybe get a couple words in and a handshake. But this is a kind of special opportunity, and I think they're raising money for a good cause, and I think they're providing a good kind of experience for the people who are willing to support them in that dimension.
The only thing that I want to remind people of, if anyone is considering going, is that very, very rarely will Blizzard answer a question that they're not already going to answer somewhere else. Especially right near BlizzCon. So, I mean, if you think that going to this dinner you're going to be able to get some sort of cool information, you're really not. Blizzard is really, really good about keeping the lid on things. Plenty of podcasts have interviews with the Blizzard devs, and they not constantly, because some of the podcasts are a little bit more intelligent in what they can and can't ask, but very often they'll be like, well, I can't tell you that, or we can't speak about that, and all that, and then, a week later, they're up on stage with an announcement of exactly what you just asked about.
Right.
So it's not like you're going to get in on some cool secret or anything like that. It's just an event.
Right, no, but just being able to meet the people as people, and especially if you're interested in the industry itself, or, in any kind of manner of thing, just being able to have like a human conversation with them without feeling like you have a bunch of people waiting in line behind you, I think that would be a cool experience in itself, and especially if you've been a fan for 10 years or longer of Blizzard games in general, not just World of Warcraft, I think that would be a lot of fun. If I had the money to spend on that kind of thing and I was going to BlizzCon anyway, I mean, hell yeah.
I'd spend it at merch at BlizzCon.
Yeah, at merch. Yeah, $7.50 for the dinner.
It's like
another
$50 for a T-shirt. So, I mean, spending $550 on stuff at BlizzCon isn't that far of a stretch.
Speaking of the money people spend at BlizzCon, what do you think the most expensive cosplay outfit costs?
Okay, so I have a friend who that's his job, is to make cosplay costumes for people, right?
Wow.
Yeah, that is his entire career, is to make outfits for people who are cosplaying. And he sells an outfit, like, if it's a basic outfit, it's like $1,000, and for the more complicated ones, it's anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000.
Oh my god.
Now, the thing on this is, like, I know a lot of the people that go to BlizzCon for the costume convention, I know a ton of them actually make their stuff themselves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really just like material cost, which a lot of that is like sculpting foam and cheap pleather that actually, looks really good. Like, a very, very good fake leather, but it's still just fake leather, so it's pretty cheap stuff. So honestly, I wouldn't have a good guess because so much of it is just made by the people wearing it.
Couture. Yeah, exactly.
Because I can tell you, I mean, he's sold a, what's the chick from Final Fantasy X? Not Yuna. Like, he sold...
Oh.
Riki?
Lily? Riki? Oh, the
orange chick with the blades.
Yeah. I think it's Riki.
He sold a whole bunch of stuff for a costume like that. Jewelry for the hair and all kinds of stuff. He sold it for like $2,500, and her costume is not complicated. It's like a pair of jean shorts with some belts and a few little beads that go in your hair. And he got $2,500 off of that. So... if it was just a matter of purchasing it, I imagine the most expensive costume there in terms of like what it could be sold for is probably like $10,000.
Wow.
I mean,
there's some of these really elaborate like Arthas, Lich King costume, which is like all armor, honestly, and that's not just sculpting foam. You can tell. So I can imagine you talk about Blizzard fans, you talk about people who go to conventions and want to spend money. I mean, 750 bones, probably tiny price tag or tiny proportion of the money they're going to spend total, or the money that some people potentially spend.
I'm just impressed with the crap they do with LEDs.
Right.
It's like, how did you make that glow? LEDs? That looks amazing. Yeah, I know. By the way, it's really hot in here. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, all right.
Anaheim, California.
So there's a large number of blue posts on the Blizzard forums the other day regarding cheating in arenas. I didn't know this was a thing. Did either of you know that there's people that cheat in arenas? I didn't even know, like, it was really that easy to do. Apparently there's, like, fly hacks where people hack their way and stand up on a wall out of range from, like, the warrior. And I could see the other one, which was, kick bots. So as soon as someone goes to cast a spell, the bot says, ooh, he's casting, and cast your kick. But, I mean, I guess there's a whole bunch of ways that people are cheating in arenas that I didn't know about any of them.
Yeah, the only cheating I was aware of was account sharing those dastardly villains.
Oh, man, yeah, those are the worst. How dare they?
So they kind of puts it all in perspective when you talk about people who are actually flying in an arena. And kickbotting, is a little bit more of a gray area. You're not. I mean, I think fly hacking is one thing. The kickbotting is more for just like intelligent use of client information, or it may use an illegal third-party program in order to do that. I think that might be the case. I don't understand how you might be able to do an auto kick to block particular spells with any of the legal third-party programming like Curse or.
Oh, you can't. I'll just tell you that you can't. It's 100% illegal and against terms of service. But go ahead.
I mean, that you have botting, which is just you have a program that plays the game for you normally, or you have hacking, which is like speed hacks, teleport hacks, fly hacks, which are I'm not entirely even sure how it works. Tricking the server into believing that your character is somewhere where he isn't supposed to be or cannot actually access through game mechanics. It seems like one is a little bit more like I have a robot sitting at my desk playing the game normally, and the other one is more like I have gone and done this change and I'm tricking the information server. You know what I'm saying? I'm not entirely computer savvy.
Well, and that's one of the other things is that so much of the game is done on the client side. It's ran through your computer. Almost everything in the game is ran through your computer. So that's one of the things that makes it so interesting, because like your computer does all the work and then it just sends the data to Blizzard and Blizzard sends information back. So
yeah.
What about you, Florian? Have you ever ran into anything like this?
No, and to be perfectly honest, I didn't even think it was possible.
That's my point. I'm like, how do you even do that?
So far as I can tell, yeah, the client does a lot of important stuff in WoW, but all of the absolutely critical stuff, the actual number crunching, is supposed to happen on the server. So I'm not really sure how you could do something like, say, a fly hack when the server has to keep track of where you're actually physically located. So right. I'm actually surprised about this. Did they say if this is like a new phenomenon, or is it something that's been going on that they're just now addressing?
I guess it's been something that's been going on for a while.
Huh.
I mean, yeah. and like botting is one thing, and I don't mean kickbotting, I mean botting. Because, I mean, there are people, like, there are some very elaborate bots, none of which I will use. I will give that little precursor there. But there's literally a bot that I know of that you can log into the game, turn on the bot, it'll do all of your garrison chores, do all of your missions at the maximum % chance of completing them, and then it will go accept your daily Apexis Crystal quest, and go do it, and bring you back to your garrison. It does all of it. It'll go pick up your work orders. What?
Don't leave me stranded in Chetra. That's where it sounded like, oh, my job's done. Job's done.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it does all that stuff. So, I mean, botting can get really, really elaborate. So, you know, it's just like, but the other stuff that's being described here is, I don't know how I feel on botting, but this stuff is straight up cheating. And right. So it's a whole nother perspective world thing. And like I said, I didn't even know it was possible.
Right. I have witnessed a speed hack. It was probably 2-3 years ago in Warsong Gulch. There was a rogue who was running very, very fast. Way too fast. Skipping 30 yards at a time per kind of click. It was intense. And it was very clear what he was doing. Breaking game mechanics in order to do this thing. We ended up winning the game miraculously by all banding together to try to catch him in a Tangling Roots and Feral Charge and intercept over and over and over again and just beat him into the ground. Because you can catch him. He was running along the ground. He was just running incredibly, incredibly fast, like 400% movement speed. So it's like kind of startling, honestly. It's nothing you expect. It's nothing that seems possible. And then you talk about people flying around and getting on top of pillars and arenas, like you're a little frost mage, you're a hunter, and just pummeling everybody from the ground. I mean, if I was a serious arena player, that's something I would certainly want stopped. But what did the Blizzard Blue Post say they were doing about it? Or were they just reminding people of the consequences?
Well, Blizzard was very open about it and was like, look, some of this is very, very difficult for them to track because so much of it is done on the client side. So some of it is extremely, extremely difficult for them to even see. And just submitting a ticket about it, they said it's helpful, but it isn't a guarantee because it takes them time to get to that ticket. And if the player isn't currently doing it, they can't see that it was happening. So if you have and this is a time in which apparently, not compared to other things with Blizzard, this is a time where things like videos and pictures are helpful to them. And they have an email, which is hacks@blizzard.com. Real simple. And if you send them the information of what was happening and all that, then they have a lot more that they can do with it to try and find these people that are causing this to happen. So, cool thing there. But otherwise, it's very, very hard for them to do anything about it. Like, what they've done currently is they've made all of the spaces where a player couldn't normally get to in what are they called? Battlegrounds? In arenas, Thank you. Well, either one. Anywhere that you're not supposed to be, they've turned it into like an illegal zone, so you can't, if you happen to get there, whether by these cheats or something like that, they didn't say what happened, but if it catches a player there, I don't know if it just throws them back on the ground, or if they automatically lose, or if they're kicked out, or if they're automatically, I don't know. But they did say that, they've marked essentially like the air in arenas as an illegal place to be. And then like kickbots, they had to explain that, you may think he's kickbotting, but he might just be really good.
Right.
I mean, because, sure, and they explained, sometimes it's real obvious that you're about to cast a spell. It's like, oh, you're a priest, or you're a mage or something, and you're running away from them, and then you stop. What is probably the only reason you would stop running?
Right, but then I guess these kickbots are supposed to be interrupting one spell but not another?
Maybe? I don't know. Like, that's hard to say, because I really don't know. I mean, a kickbot, you could probably program it to be like, okay, well, I want you to kick, penance, but I don't want you to kick flash heal, or something like that, But at the same time, for the most part, what I've seen in arenas, if your kick is on cooldown and they're casting something, you kick it.
Right, no, but I mean, honestly, really super high level play, if you got a disc priest that's about to cast Mind Blast, you don't want to interrupt that. You want to lock out their holy, not their shadow school, and it's really, you don't want to waste a kick on something that isn't going to be worthwhile to kick at all.
Sure.
Put your kick on cooldown for that reason. Or like prayer of healing, if they try to bait your kick. I mean, that's a bad example because prayer of healing is also a holy school spell. I think you had a good example of penance because I believe penance has a cooldown, whereas flash heal doesn't. So you want to get that penance. Yeah, I'm not going to go into about
well, and penance is one of their strongest spells too. So I mean, that's another very relevant thing. So it's still just a matter of like. It's still difficult, is what I think I'm trying to get at, because there's just so many factors that go into this. I don't know. It seems silly. Like, the fly hacks and illegitimate cheating is one thing, but I don't... Like, kickbotting... One, if you're doing it, that's sad. It's not that hard to kick things. And if you're not doing it and you're just good, congratulations. But really, I mean, it's just like, whatever. Okay. You know?
I want to see somebody kick War Stomp.
Well, and that was one of the other questions, because kickbotting, I guess maybe it's with kickbots, maybe not, but I guess there was a way for people to kick instant spells, and Blizzard's like, we have not had any reports of that. Can you please give us more information? Because that would be a problem if that was true.
Right. Wow, that's just that's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess they had a way to, like, the biggest culprit was, and it might be something to do with the spell and less of, kicks or anything like that, but I guess mages were getting their dragon's breath kicked. But, I don't know. And Blizzard can't do anything about it until they've been given light to it, so, it's kind of hard to do anything, It's like, okay. because Blizzard doesn't, like, as much surveillance as I'm sure Blizzard have, they don't have, like, this all-seeing eye of, this is everything that's happening in your game at all times.
Right.
So, derp.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe that'll be, it's just like kind of I think they do have that kind of all-seeing eye. Everything that passes from client to client through the server probably has the capacity of being recorded. And again, I'm going to show my ignorance to the people who know more about computer science than I do. But it seems like everything that anybody does leaves a mark or interacts with the server in some way. And I'm thinking 20 years in the future, they'll have the kind of technology to tease out exactly what happens and create a really clear picture of exactly what happened to a person or to a player. But right now, I think it's just a whole lot of kind of data that they can't tease all the details out of. So if you say, hey, I went and I killed, Ragnaros, and he dropped the thing, but then I got disconnected and it appeared in my bag, and then I logged back in the next day and it was gone, and I want my, legendary Eye of Sulfuron or whatever. Right now they could probably say like, okay, well, we can't actually see where that went. Or saying, hey, back 6 years ago I picked this quest reward, but now I'm looking at Wowhead and I want the other quest reward instead. And they say, well, I mean, we can't, we see that you completed the quest, and I think we talked about this once, but we can't tell which quest reward you picked.
Sure.
And I think that might be something that changes in the future as technology gets a little bit better, and then data analysis with all of this like kind of server data gets a little bit easier to draw up.
Well, and I think that's the point. That's what Blizzard is trying to say, is that, maybe they do have all of this data of everything that happens, but if they do, they can't just sit there and look at all of it. And, it's not easy to program things to look for what might be considered, unusual behavior, because, what technically classifies as unusual behavior in this game. So,
right.
Yeah. So it's a matter of bringing it to their attention soon enough that they can go look at it. But if it's not brought to their attention, then they don't really have any way of doing anything with it. It's just dust in the wind.
Right.
Because I don't know what Blizzard's databanks look like, but I'm sure it's frightening. What do you think, Florian?
They probably can't do anything about it now, obviously. Otherwise, they would just do something instead of making blue posts. So we'll just have to wait and see if they come up with a solution for the problem. It's not a simple problem. I guess they could do more stuff server side, which would be my first instinct, and probably theirs, considering that's exactly what they did with all of Diablo 3.
Sure. I don't know.
I think they did a pretty good move with changing the kind of terrain geometry in the battlegrounds and arenas. I think that's a pretty clear step.
From what I can tell, PvP has like the most work to be done out of everything, but it also seems to be the most difficult to work on. Just from what I've been seeing with, especially because there seems to be so much more feedback in regards to PvP that Blizzard is actually commenting on, especially with how much of a fail Ashran has been this entire time. So PvP is getting a lot more light, I feel, now, and I don't know if it'll cause the problems in PvP to be solved any better, but at least it's giving us more insight into what's happening.
Yeah, they're being communicative, and I think that's good. It seems like really they were making us aware of the problem, giving us information about how we can help them help us to solve the problem, and really they're speaking up about it, which is a good way to go about things. I mean, obviously they don't have very much to say, but saying, moving forward, this is what we're going to do, so here you go. And then we can do with that information what we want. We can rage on the forums, or we can say, thank you, Blizzard, or we can start reporting exploiters, or we can talk about it on the podcast, and I think that's fine.
And the important thing, and we've talked about this before, is give Blizzard real feedback. Don't just be like, I hate this is stupid. Tell Blizzard why. Give them as much detail and information as you can. Don't think that just because you typed out 3 pages, Blizzard won't read it. that actually means that Blizzard might have a better chance of reading it because there is something in there that might be actually relevant that past just warriors are overpowered. They killed me.
Right, and I think with all the exploits and how useful video is actually going to be, maybe we should all install our little WoW dash cams so that we're constantly recording in case we come across somebody doing something that they should.
I wonder if there's a way to do that. Get a low quality recording.
Then you have the evidence right there.
What?
I imagine. But then once you have the information that's usable, you send it to hacks@blizzard.com. And now is that hacks with 2 or 4 X's?
That is HACKS.
Okay.
Real English, sir.
Not the leet kind.
Yeah, not leet English. Remember, Blizzard has to keep things in the real world because they have, investors and stuff that actually need them to be serious sometimes.
Sure.
All right, we got one more thing in the news.
Aid me! Something you're doing? Grant me your strength. No time for play. Me busy. Leave me alone. Animality. Me nothing. Ha! Get off! No! I will wield your strength!
Evan's not going to make it through this month without laughing.
Animality.
That's what he says when he kills somebody.
It's a horrible pun. It's not even close. No, really what I like the most about it is how the Dreadwing is freaking out the entire time.
Well, yeah, it's trying to get away.
Yes.
Anyway, though this is the last week for the announcement. We'll be picking winners next week. If you are just tuning in this week, well, 1, welcome. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. And 2, we are conducting a giveaway for an Iron Skyreaver. If you already have one, just let us know if you end up being the winner, and then, we'll go from there. But the promotion for an Iron Skyreaver. There's a whole bunch of different ways to enter. They're all listed on our contest page, which is through Rafflecopter. You can find that link in the show notes. It's probably in the little mini description of wherever you download this from. It's on YouTube. It's on Twitter. It's everywhere so that people can find this. All the ways you can enter and get multiple entries are all listed on there. I highly recommend you go enter. Yeah, please, thank you. And, you always have that chance of winning a mount. We love them, right? I love mounts. Can I win this mount? No, that'd be cheating.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Great contest, great giveaway. I think mounts are awesome. Really bang for the buck. We've given away 2 pets in the past.
Only one so far.
Just the one. Fantastic.
I definitely look forward to giving away more, though.
Absolutely.
All right. Anyway, let's go into a closer look. Welcome to a closer look, everybody. Every week we take a closer look at something within the World of Warcraft. And it doesn't necessarily have to be news. It doesn't have to be anything, big or anything like that. It's just something that we would like to give ourselves and you a little bit more discussion and insight over. So it could really be almost anything. And this week we're actually going to be talking about the very thing you're listening to. Podcasts. So yeah, we're just going to kick it right off. A podcast is what you're listening to. I assume you already know that since you're listening to us. If you're listening to us on YouTube or something like that, this is a podcast. Welcome. It's a bunch of people that sit around and talk about something. Sometimes there's video. We don't currently have video. Sometimes it's live. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's heavily edited with a whole bunch of special stuff. And sometimes it's completely... What's the word? Not canon. Candid. And crazy things happen with people who speak randomness. But here we are. This is what we're doing. It's a podcast. So let's go ahead and go into what we do. What do you guys do?
But you mean in
yeah, you too.
For the podcast, it's what we do. We join up and then we talk about WoW things with our little headsets or our little table microphones.
Or in Florian's case, a phone if his internet is being completely rude.
what a champion. What a champion of the different digital media, networking wizard, really. He's had to change from one device to another mid-show seamlessly. Very impressed by that.
Well, and it helps so much in this. Like, it used to be that this would be extremely difficult because technology has come so far. I mean, because, like radio shows, it wasn't very easy for them to do things across more than just the room that they're in. So, like, let's take a look at the three of us. I'm in Alaska. Florian, you're in Oregon, California? Is he there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay.
I am also in California, which is the location of here.
California. Okay. And then Evan is in
Maryland.
Thank you. All I remember is Florian West Coast, Evan East Coast. So, I mean,
right.
It used to be that if we wanted to do this, it would be like a radio show, and we'd all have to live in the same place so we can record in the same studio so that the audio can all be picked up in the same place, and then they broadcast it later. So the fact that the three of us are able to do this is like a testament to technology evolving. Because even 10 years ago, this would be difficult.
Exactly. And it's kind of like online games, where when you take out the geographic requirement, or you at least severely reduce the geographic requirement, of course, we still want to play with people in the North American region because of the servers. You're allowed to find people with whom you mesh as far as interests and personality, goals, and all sorts of things, based on those rather than based around who's just nearby to you. So, of course, Dungeons and Dragons, tabletop RPGs, board games, card games, still limited kind of physically, geographically. Some of these less so. They're electronic versions of lots of ways to socialize and play games.
Including Dungeons and Dragons. That has evolved as well in a fantastic way.
But, online games was kind of, I don't know. It's, gaming has gotten a lot more digital these days, and I think, radio broadcasting has as well, and that's why we have podcasts as kind of a living room hobby, kind of amateur style thing, and is taking it out of the hands of giant studios that have the big radio towers and antenna and equipment and putting it in the hands of anybody who has an internet connection and some kind of microphone, which is almost everybody in the damn country right now because of smartphones.
Right. The one thing that does kind of create a barrier, though, is, like, there's a lot of research to be done, and then also just the quality of it in general. You can't just, like, some people do grab, like, the $12 Logitech gaming headset that you can find at GameStop to plug into your PlayStation, and it'll work in your computer, and you could record a podcast with it, but it just doesn't... It's like listening to a poorly recorded song. You're like, man, this kind of sounds like garbage. So there are some things that you need to consider. But for the most part, it's extremely accessible, more than it's ever been. And like you mentioned with smartphones, I mean, now it's just a podcast app. And then, it pulls up podcasts and it's like, what would you like to listen to? I would like to listen to a World of Warcraft app. Cool. Here's a whole bunch of World of Warcraft podcasts. Which one would you like to listen to?
And then you say, I don't know, this one sounds kind of dumb. Oh, what's it called? The Castbar.
Oh, thanks, buddy. It is, like, the name is both important and unimportant depending on whose view you're looking at. Because, like, I know some of the more popular podcast hosts would never name their podcast something with the name cast in it. But you know what? I really like the play on words, so I didn't care. But, like, like Wowcast, you hear stuff like that a lot, Hearthcast for for Hearthstone, stuff like that, I think that one might actually be a WoW podcast. There's a whole bunch of podcasts out there that they put the word cast in it just after, like, anything that has to do with it. Which I guess they get a lot of flack for. I don't know why. I don't see anything wrong with, like, Stormcast, which is a Heroes of the Storm podcast, or, Wowcast, which is no longer around, unfortunately. But it was a pretty darn good Warcraft podcast that ended, I think, in 2012 or 2014.
I think it has something to do with the kind of generic sound to it. Like, if you say something like Stormcast, Heroes of the Storm, or Wowcast, Wow podcast kind of thing. It's almost like, starting a dairy farm and naming your product milk. milk brand milk. It's almost like what the hell? What are we supposed to call our milk if
How dare
your brand
you?
name is? Yeah, exactly. It's like almost too generic, and maybe it's not as it doesn't have very much character. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if that necessarily matters, though. Because it's not like we have because milk is always just milk. And then compare it to things like Kleenexes. Some people call them tissues, sure. But a very large percentage of people call them Kleenexes. And that's just the brand. I have sitting next to me a box of Kroger Home Sense tissues with lotion. Unscented facial tissues. You know what I call them? I call them Kleenexes. Sharpies is the renowned term for permanent marker. So, having the word cast because it's a podcast, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, cast in the name. Yeah, definitely not. But name your WoW podcast would be a little bit strange just because of the generic feel. It doesn't sound like it doesn't sound.
That
like
one does sound bad. I don't approve.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the title, the name of a show. It just sounds like a descriptor keyword almost.
This is a WoW podcast. Welcome to WoW Podcast. Your podcast about WoW. No, that makes sense. But WoWcast, I still think is fine. WoWcast is a World of Warcraft podcast.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think, Florian? Is our name stupid?
I think it's fine. I mean, to be fair, if someone doesn't like it, they can just go make their own podcast and call it whatever they want.
Boom.
If that makes them feel better about things.
Shots fired. Wait, hang on. I have a sound for that.
Ooh. You're a little heavy there, Florian.
Well, that's the truth. A lot of people criticize stuff like that, but, if they don't like it, they can just make their own thing.
And, technically, I mean, if at some point we want to change games, we could, because the game, the Castbar, is pretty generalized in all considerations of things. Only our slogan actually ties us to World of Warcraft, because almost any game that doesn't have any MMO almost that I can think of has a Castbar of some kind in it. Not that we intend on changing games, but...
Yeah, it's always good to have options.
6.2 goes.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. 6.2 better have some balls, because 6.1 was naked.
I'll just say this right now, depending on what they tell us they're putting in 6.2, I'm going to decide whether I unsubscribe on the spot, and I'm going to go on the forums and tell others whether I've decided to unsubscribe on the spot.
Because you know what? If Blizzard doesn't do this and keep this stuff up, I quit! And Blizzard goes, okay. Who are you
We're not
again?
going to open up Tanan Jungle. In fact, we've decided not to do that.
In fact, we're scrapping that all for the next expansion. It'll be out in a year. I don't know how upset I would be.
Warlords of Tanan or Kilrog's Revenge.
You know what?
Oh my god.
A boulder fell on Grom.
Exactly.
We're moving on now.
I don't want to give them any ideas. I mean, actually, I could respect them for bailing out on the idea if it turned out it wasn't going to go in the direction they wanted. Just going it somewhere else.
Be like, we're
going
sorry.
to Bashir.
Back to podcast, though.
Yeah.
The other thing on this is that there's so many resources available, because what we're doing right now is we're recording. And it used to be that you had to have very special equipment to do so. Now, that equipment is still superior to what we're using, which is a bunch of third-party programs that I run on my computer to record everything. That being said, that equipment cost like $1,000. The equipment I'm using, like, I'm not going to count the cost of my computer, because I had the computer to play games on and stuff way before that. But the actual, like, programs and stuff that we're using, like, even the one that this plays through, this...
Well, that's all we have for today, folks.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
This? Wait, why did it play that one again? Yeah, see, third-party program. It has to end before I'm allowed to play something else.
You are
This thing that's actually recording, what we're using to talk, this is all through free third-party programs.
Yes.
And if it wasn't for technology evolving the way it was and giving us these things, we wouldn't be able to make this the way it would because we'd have to have that expensive equipment to do this. Which I'm so thankful for because, like, while I admit I had to do a lot of reading and research and testing and stuff to make the stuff work the way I wanted to, it was still free, which is awesome. I am a big fan of free.
The alternative would be, mailing everybody a little paper Dixie cup or aluminum can with a string in it and say, tune into your can and string on Sundays at 7-Eleven Alaska time.
That would look crazy. You'd have to have it all connected up in the sky.
Right. Do a little sound check. You have to make sure everybody's just listening and not talking back, or else it'll be really chaotic. You just twing the string like it's a guitar string, just twing, and if you hear a bunch of ah in the ear, then you know that people are listening. Yeah, it'd be hard to keep the trolls out. You'd have to have an application process.
You'd have to create a way for them to only be able to listen and not be able to talk back.
Interesting. I don't think the technology exists for that, ironically.
No, in fact, I've never done it. I don't know if it... Does it actually work? Are you actually able to talk through a cup attached by strings?
I think so.
Okay, I've never tried it, because it just seems preposterous. I know that it has to do with, like, vibrations in the string and stuff, but seriously, it just sounds ridiculous.
It sounds ridiculous, but it does work.
Does it work well?
Well is a very subjective term. It just kind of is what it is.
Like, does it sound like them, or does it sound like some sort of robotic vibration? Like, you are going to die. And you're like, what did you just say? I said hi.
It sounds like what you would expect it to sound like when you convert your voice into a vibrating string. Let's put it like that.
So to me, that would sound like...
A little bit less bassy.
Yeah. Don't throw away your cell phones yet.
I love my cell phone, even though I don't use it very much at all, so I don't think I need to worry about throwing it away.
Fantastic.
After we record, we have to do the editing, which these guys are very fortunate in which they don't have to do that. I do that. Again...
Well, you get all the glory, too, so it's worth it.
Oh, thanks. Wait a minute, I thought our goal here was to make you the famous one. I thought we established it on like the second episode. You were here to get famous and make money.
Yeah. Just because I'm here to get famous doesn't mean that I'm not that I'm the one that gets the glory. I mean, clearly, when people think Castbar, they think Michael Schwahn.
Well, I'm the only one that anyone knows their last name for. Which we've just elected to leave your last names out. If you guys want to give your last name, I don't care. Just let me know. But I've left your last names out of this so far. But I've had my face all over the internet before. And, well, I guess I shouldn't say all over. I mean, I've tried to do the YouTube thing when I was like 15 or whatever. That's not cool. I think they're still out there somewhere if you want to go hunt those down. I know in one of them I have blue streaks in my hair because I was friggin' weird. And now my train of thought...
anime.
Well, I love anime. What are you talking about? Anime is wonderful.
Yeah.
No, that was actually because of the books I was reading, but that's completely irrelevant.
Funny.
And I always attach my name to everything because, why not? I don't care. I'm sure some of the stuff in those YouTube videos are incredibly embarrassing and depressing now, but I don't care. Those are stuff that I will deal with never, because I don't care. I really don't know if they're still there. They could be. But like editing, I mean... Because I get this big giant sound file when me and the guys are done recording, right? And what you're listening to actually does not sound like what it is when it's first recorded. Because I take out a whole bunch of the background noise because we are not using professional microphones. I went ahead and bought a nicer microphone, but it's still not like a super nice one. It cost me like $70, but you can buy... the professional recording microphones that are like anywhere from like $150 to like $400, depending on how much you really feel like spending. And I could make this one cost more if I bought, like the covers and stuff for it. But, there's no reason to do that. We're not making money or anything right now. Clean up all the noise, take out the dead silence, because already even in this show, which you didn't hear because I edited it out, there was a couple points in time where we just sat here in silence for like 5 seconds. There was completely dead air. You're not going to hear that. And then I level it all out. There's like 2 of them that I found, one of which I'm currently using, that what it does is it levels the music. levels of the audio, because, like, right now, when we're talking and stuff, Florian is actually much quieter than Evan, and I don't know where I am, but I know I'm also quieter than Evan. Evan's actually the loudest of us on the recording, but once I put it through this program, it makes all of us, should, relatively at least, I mean, you know, Florian's is a little bit more soft-spoken in general, but it makes us all the same audio level. So, you know, Evan isn't, you know, blaring in your ears, and Florian, you're like, man, I can't hear him cranking it up. As well as, you know, it just makes everything, you know, what you wish people would do with your television so that the commercials weren't so stinking loud.
Oh, absolutely.
Which, incidentally, is that still a problem? I know there was, like, bills and stuff going through to make it so that that wasn't a thing anymore, but I don't watch TV.
Know. Yeah. What is it? Netflix doesn't have advertisements, so, yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Evan's all about that Netflix.
Hail corporate.
I am all about the yar. Because I don't even want to pay for Netflix, because I'm cheap.
You just gotta watch out those notices they be sending out. But that's off topic. Podcasts are fantastic, and they are free.
Right, and they should be. I've not seen any podcast that cost money. Have either of you?
No,
that would be very strange and bizarre, I think.
You would have... I don't even know how you would begin to market a podcast that cost money.
It's like a magazine subscription, I guess.
Maybe, like, you wouldn't be able to run it through iTunes. iTunes podcasts are always free. Stitcher, I believe, is the same way, and those are the two biggest platforms. Everything on YouTube is free. So, I mean, like, it would have to be, like... Unfortunately, this is the first thing that came to mind, and I'm just gonna roll with it. Like, if there was, like, a Playboy podcast... Like, it would have to just be through their website, and you would have to, like, buy it, I guess? And, you know, you wouldn't be able to go through the standard, catchers, you know, iTunes, Stitcher, etc., Podcast Addict, forget what the other ones are. I think that'd be the only way you could do it. Anyway, podcasts should always be free. If there's advertisements and stuff in it, that's one thing, because they're trying to make money. Which, incidentally, we currently run 0 advertisements.
Oh yeah.
We don't run any. I've looked into them. You'll hear a lot of podcasts be like, you know, they're sponsored, quote unquote, by Audible, or something like that. And really, like, I took a look at those and I was like, you know, I would rather just not garble up the podcast with advertisements like that, because I've checked on what the benefit is to the podcast if that promotion is ever used. It's not worth it. Like,
well, yeah, not for us in our circumstance right now, and especially being a new podcast. You know, advertisements detract from the actual content of the show, and we'd rather people tune in and do it because we like it. We keep our own costs low, and the cost benefit doesn't really tip itself into making sponsorship and doing things like the Audible a clear choice. But that's certainly not the case for other podcasts. Everybody has their own kind of situation going on. And I'm not entirely sure if the Audible deal you get through listening to a podcast, and I'm sure they give you a special code, gets you something that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise.
No,
I was kind of... Right. I was inclined to believe you can sign up for a...
Yeah, so what it does is if you use the code and sign up for Audible, you get 1 book for free and 1 month for free.
Okay.
Because if someone doesn't know, Audible, you know, is for audio books, and if, you know, you can buy the books for whatever their cost is. And it's a subscription model, and it costs, I think, like $11 a month or something like that. And every month, they give you another quote-unquote free book. But if you're not currently subscribed to Audible, you can't listen to any of the books you bought.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But
so it's like a subscription kind of thing, but
you get a book every month, and then you could buy additional books if you wanted. And then the only thing is that your first month is free. You could go to audible.com right now and get a free month. Or you could go find one of these people who are doing a promotion for Audible. They're quote-unquote sponsored by it, which just means that they asked Audible if they could have a code. And then they'll be like, you know, go to audible.com and put in the code, you know, free crap, and because that's
Love your mama.
our code. Maybe? I don't think so. And then they get credit for you going to Audible. You still get the free month. You still get the free book. The only difference is they send that podcast a very minute amount of money. I'm not going to say how much because that's other podcast business, but I took a look into it. I took a look into all those free promotions that you can do that give you money, and it's so depressingly little that no.
But if you are a listener and you enjoy the podcast and you've heard these kind of advertisements before, and separately you think you might want to try out Audible because you have a long commute or you go on a couple road trips, or if you have a lot of downtime where you like audiobooks, then I would recommend get the free month. But don't just sign up to the Audible website. Try to support one of your local podcasts by using one of their codes, because the benefit is the same to you whether you do it on your own or with a code, I believe. But the only difference is that it kicks back a little bit of dough to those podcasts.
Right. Yeah,
if you want to make
definitely.
a kind of free contribution.
You get the same either way. Support someone if you can, because, they're probably trying just as hard. I hope they're trying just as hard as the rest of us to be something that you enjoy. Because that's why we do this, right? We do it because we enjoy it, and we hope that you enjoy it. And I know that I personally love doing it, and I love hearing from people, and that's why I constantly request for you guys to send us more feedback and questions. Because every time we get one, I'm like, ooh! And then I take a look at it, and I'm like, yeah! Even if it's something completely silly, I'm just like, yeah! Let's put this question in the show, because why not?
It really is great. Yeah, I share this sentiment as well.
So, yeah, support them. Especially, if you're listening to them and they came to mind when we said this, then they must be doing something, right? You're listening to us, so I hope that means we're doing something right. So here's a question that I am both going to present and ask to you guys as well as to the viewers, listeners, whichever. I'm not sure if there's too much of a difference. And it's, what are we going to do? What will we do? Like, currently we don't have a Patreon, and if that ends up something that we end up deciding to do later, sure. But we don't currently have any funds coming in from you guys. It's completely free, and we completely don't ask anything of you in any way except just to listen and to maybe send us a piece of mail from time to time. So, what is the future of the Castbar? This is episode 22, so what is it? We're 5 episodes away from doing this for 6 months straight, half a year. We've never missed a week. That would kind of go against our slogan. So, I realize, presenting this question now, that we haven't talked about it a whole lot, and we've just kind of been going with the flow here. What goal do we have for the future, or you as a listener, what would you like to see from us? Do you have any suggestions for new segments, new ideas, new anything? Is there anything that you'd like us to go to from here? What about you guys? Have you guys had any thoughts? I realize I just kind of sprung this on you, of what you would like to see the Castbar evolve into at any point in time.
I'd like to see the Castbar evolve into a podcast that has a year under its belt of consistent episodes every week without interrupts. I think that'd be a pretty sweet milestone, honestly.
It is a goal. I fully intend to hit that goal. What about you, Florian? Is there anything that you would like to see come from us, come from yourself, me, Evan, etc.?
Nothing in particular I can think of that we haven't already done on the podcast. Unless I have any new ideas, I think right now we're covering everything. Only thing I'd like us to be able to do more of is listener mail, but you guys don't send us anything.
Oh no! Oh no!
Breaking out the passive aggressiveness over here.
Lay it on so thick, man.
Yeah, we want to do the segment. It's on you guys listening to send us something to talk about.
Incidentally, the mailbag is empty again. Email thecastbar@gmail.com, Twitter @CastbarPodcast. Call and leave us a voicemail at 508-738-2278, or you can leave a comment on the YouTube videos. Any of them. I check them all. So, if you leave a comment on, the second one, I will still see it.
Don't be alarmed, listeners, by my other two co-hosts here. If you're listening to us and you don't want to, interact or say anything, we will never find you. We have no way of knowing. You're in no danger.
I approve. But no, seriously, I am always open to suggestions. I mean, we had a little bit of feedback from a few, like 4 months ago now, actually, that made a comment regards to Florian's audio quality, because we're limited to what we have, and, Skype isn't always the greatest. Unfortunately, it is, like, the most convenient and most open, and it is one of the higher quality chat services. But from where we've come from, Florian's audio quality, we did our best to improve as much as we could, and I think it sounds pretty great now.
Yeah, it does.
Especially considering the weeks that we had where his audio quality was complete garbage.
Yeah, jeez.
And I thank you for doing what you could to improve that, Florian.
Yeah, it's coming along slowly.
What actual improvements have you made since we're on the topic?
I made 2 improvements. The first is I bought a better headset microphone that is superior to the previous one that I had. I've also fiddled with my audio levels a bit, and that helped. The other is several angry phone calls with the ISP because my connection was my main limiter.
Right.
So far it's getting better, and apparently they're supposed to have it all fixed next week or the week after. So at that point, my voice should sound buttery smooth. But we'll see.
Oh, wow, I can't wait for that.
Neither can I. Neither can I.
Butter.
So, man, call the manufacturer for your headphones. Don't say their name. Hey, I've got this podcast. I'll do a sweet name drop if you kick a couple bucks my way. That's what I'm talking about.
Or just, normally anyone who makes headphones or headsets makes a whole bunch of different tiers of quality headset. Just have them send us each the headset.
Exactly.
Just be like, so I will totally promote your headsets if you just give us some. I mean, people on Twitch do that all the time. They'll be like, I am endorsed by such and such, and they gave me this headset as long as I, at least once a month tell them their name.
You need to build them up a little bit, saying, hey, I've been building up my audience a little bit. The first couple of weeks I recorded with a electrical wire glued to a piece of aluminum foil, so it's been a huge improvement. and I want to put your brand name behind that. I think it'll make a big impact.
That mental image was awesome.
I think we need to wait at least a little while before we start selling out. We need to have a bit of patience.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I broke Michael. I had to get him back for that damn sounder.
I just pictured Florian holding this dinky little wire with this microphone-shaped piece of tinfoil that he's poked holes into. Okay. We're going into the review.
We're going to be alright.
Welcome to the review, everybody. Every week we will review something. We've really just taken a shot at just about every different type of thing we can at this point. 5-man dungeons, raids, battlegrounds, arenas, quest lines, classes, specs, legendary items, lots of things. I'm trying to just backlog everything we've reviewed so far, and I mean, we're on. This is episode 22, so we've done 22 reviews thus far, and we certainly got plenty more. We'll run out around episode 100, maybe.
No, absolutely not.
But by then, we'll be 80 episodes from now, 80 weeks, so that's like a year and a half away from now. So. By then we should have at least one more expansion, maybe 2. So, by then we'll just have even more stuff to review. No big deal.
We're gonna get desperate. We're gonna be reviewing Mogrosh Stronghold in Lochmadan, where I am right now. It's a cave. There's some meat hanging from the ceiling. There are ogres living here.
A+.
A+.
A+ for extra meat. I'm really hungry, by the way. I have not eaten since 11 a.m. and it is now 7:35 p.m. my time. I am quite hungry. Well, I had to go get Jenna from the airport today, and the airport's like an hour and a half away, and I was like, oh man, I need to get food, and then I left to go get her, and then it turns out that I had left an hour earlier than I needed to, and yeah, today's been a crazy day, so I'm happy to just be sitting here chatting away with you guys. Anyway, so, review. This week we are going to be reviewing the 5-man dungeon, the Nexus, and that is one of the 3 dungeons that is associated with the Nexus, which is the big, giant, cool, awesome, arcane stone tower thing that you'll see in, I think it's called the Caldara, which is northwest section of the, what is that terrible zone called? The Borean Tundra.
Mm-hmm.
A terrible zone. Anyway, not reviewing that zone. F's all across the board now. Anyway, this is the middle step, essentially. The very first one is the Oculus, the middle one is the Nexus, and then the end of it is the Raid, which is the Eye of Eternity. Go ahead.
Middle step, what do you mean? As far as level progression, or as far as...
Level progression and story progression.
No, the Nexus is first, the Oculus is second. Yes.
Really? Alright, well, scratch what I just said. Listen to Evan. He's apparently more in know than me. This is what happens when I don't write enough show notes down. Anyway. We split the review into 3 sections, ambience, gameplay, and lore. And the ambience is what you hear, what you see, what you feel, all of the beauty of the game that is, still withholding even 10 years later. The gameplay is just exactly what you think. It's the numbers, the boss mechanics, the trash mechanics, if there are some, where the trash is placed, how dense, how light, sometimes loot comes into play, because, some places just, let's be honest, some places have better loot than others. And then the lore is, well, the lore. Is there story here? How good is it? How well is it presented? Was it easy to find? Which is a very big factor, sometimes, depending on how this goes. So, ambience. Evan, would you like to step us into the ambience, please?
Well, yeah, one of the things I really like about the ambience of this place is that it is kind of a patchwork of denizens. And it's like, we can start by saying that I think the whole big shebang, what's the whole big tower shebang called?
I think it's just called the Nexus. Let me see. It's on the map. Yeah, it's called the Nexus, and it's inside the Caldara.
Okay, right. It's like a blue dragon temple. It wasn't made by the dragons. I don't know who it was made by. We can talk about it in the lore, but it's a very kind of contiguous structure that's kind of inside and around this kind of snowy floating island, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it's very heavily associated with blue dragons and with ice and with magical ley energy. And I think that comes across very clearly in kind of the structural components. And it's got cool kind of ancient architecture, but it's not exactly like the I want to say the Founders, but I'm not. It's the Titans style that they have over there in Storm Peaks and everything. So it's a little bit different than what we're used to from that. So the source is a little bit kind of mysterious. And then once you get inside the Nexus, which is that 5-man, where it starts off with the Dragonkin patrolling around, and the frozen big dragon in the middle, is you're progressing through the dungeon. Although it has a circular kind of layout, you kind of progress linearly through it. And as you start, you have the Dragonkin, then you go into this area with these kind of blood elf or high elf mages, and they're kind of like spell thieves. You go into this area where there are more Dragonkins fighting with these arcane aberrations. This giant tear in this dimensional tear where all of these energies and wind are being sucked through into this void space, and you fight a void monster. And then you go through this kind of frozen crystalline forest, this kind of reminiscent of Crystal Song itself, only a little bit more kind of icy, and you have all these dryads and these ancient protectors. And then after that, you come back up to the Dragonkin and then fight the final boss there. And I really like it when Blizzard does this thing where they have this one kind of, zone, this area, and they have like 3 different kind of factions of NPCs that are all, aggressive, but they're also kind of fighting among themselves, and then there's a kind of story being told just through their juxtaposition, really. And I think that gives the zone itself a whole lot more character, and it kind of tells the story with the environment more so than it does with just quest texts and boss dialogue.
Sure. And, like, it's got probably one of my favorite color schemes ever, is just this, like, Warcraft has this, like, very established magic look to it, which is, like, this, you sometimes see it purple if it's, like, Warlock or Fel Magic or something like that is green, but, like, just general magic has this beautiful, just, like, I almost want to call it soft blue electric glow to it. And that is everywhere throughout this entire dungeon, because right. I did check, it was built by the Blue Dragon Flight as a place for them to reroute all of the Phalanx to the World to, so they can direct more magic to that place. We can talk more about that in the lore, though. So, you know, there's tons and tons of magic here, and, you know, like everyone's talking about, this, like, glass/ice crystal look, because it's such a simple texture to do, it looks really, really fantastic because it's not very intricate. It's just, you know, crystallized glass look with dark blackened stone with this beautiful blue glow to it. So this place just looks great. It looks fantastic. And this is one of the only dungeons, and I really approve of this, what I'm about to say, is that you see the final boss right when you walk in the door. The final boss is the Red Dragon at the very end, whose name is Carrie Straza. She's a captured red dragon. And it just, like, you just see her there. And that's, you know, so cool, because it's like, that, you know, that's what you're there for, at least I think. I'll have to double check that in a moment in lore. But they have her trapped there in ice, and it's just like, oh, there it is. There's the end. Can't go there yet, but I can see it. Awesome. So there's all these other things that you need to do and solve as you move along. And that just builds so much into it, because from the very beginning, you get to see the end, which is a very neat thing that's very difficult to present well without just being like, man, I feel like you're cheating me out of walking to the end there. So it's just so well presented that I just love it. What do you think, Florian?
I would definitely agree with that. I love the design of this entire place and the whole magical theme they have going on, with massive flows of magic all over the place, coming up from the ground, running along the walls. There's just like, everything has magic all over it. There's rune circles all over the floor, and they have a lot of little touches too that are hard to notice. Like, I noticed that there are some, what are they called? Stalactites? Stalagmites? I can never remember what you call the ones that hang from the ceiling. But anyway, the ones that hang from the ceiling. And they will occasionally drip water. And if you watch them carefully, when the drop of water hits the ground, it'll form this little ripple that's like a magic circle that disappears shortly afterwards. Like these little small touches that really make this place look like it's a living, breathing sanctum of magic. And it looks really, really good. It all comes together very well.
Wonderful. So what would you then give ambience, Florian, as a grade?
Ambience-wise, this place is a solid A. I would say for sure. My only gripe is that some of the huge magical circle patterns on the floor in some of the areas are much blurrier, and pixelated than they probably should be compared to the rest of the textures. But that's really my only gripe. Aside from that, it looks really good.
Well, and one more thing that I want to give this is that this place has this really, this really neat feeling in it, because it's been raided before, and in one of the hallways there's a whole bunch of frozen soldiers, and he's not a boss, he's like a mini boss.
Right, the dwarf guy.
Yeah, and well, yours is a dwarf, ours is an orc.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oops.
And that's just such a neat effect, because like it you know, they've already tried once to stop this, and you get to see what's come of it since then. And you know, you come across this like little miniature force that's been frozen in ice, and it's like, oh well, that's disheartening a little bit, but at the same time it's, you know, it's like, all right, well, let's succeed where they failed. So, you know, it gives you a little bit, and then, you know, you get to kill the other faction's general that's frozen in there, or captain or whatever he ends up being, which is, always satisfying to stick it to the horde.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so it's an A from Florian. It's an A from me for the reason that I just spoke about, and for the reason that we've already mentioned. I mean, it's a beautiful place to look at. There's no reason not to enjoy it unless you're just not too big of the... It's not dungeony and, stone floors and, iron bars, but it is still very dungeon-like. So I could understand why you might possibly not enjoy it for that purpose, but I still think it's great. What about you, Evan?
I'll give it an A as well. I mean, like I said, I really like it when they take a bunch of different kind of NPC factions and kind of give them a kind of story even without us there. It's not just like everybody's going about their business and waiting for us to come and try to steal the treasure. It's about them characterizing this kind of environment that lives even outside of our presence there. So it's like Schrodinger's instance.
Sure. If we want to get into some serious, crazy, mind completely screwing over stuff, we can mention Schrodinger.
No, I'm just A, solid A. I mean, it's not bad at all. I don't have any qualms with how it looks or how it feels or how it flows. I think that it's a pretty successful dungeon. I mean, not much more to say about it than that.
So my question then to you, what is keeping it for you away from an A+?
I guess just the textures are a little bit dated at this point, which we run into that problem all the time going through old content.
Or just Warcraft in general. I mean, Warcraft itself is dated, but...
Right. And
we do still have standards.
Right, a lot of the newer dungeons that were released in this expansion really set the bar extremely high, and I could look at it in context, of course, the old expansion, but it isn't, Shadow and Burial Grounds.
Sure, I can definitely agree with that. Shadow and Burial Grounds is a beautiful place. Alright, so then we'll go into gameplay. I'll go and take the first steps for us into gameplay. The gameplay in this place, I still very much remember it doing it as a heroic dungeon, and this place was great. The gameplay in it is really fantastic. I can't speak. I guess I could take a look real quick at what transmog is available for it. But I just remember the gameplay in this place being very, very strong because the trash packs, there's some of them that are avoidable if you want to jump off of this or go over to do this instead. If you're careful in the room that Evan was talking about with the trees, you can avoid some trash that way, which you want to because there's hordes and hordes and hordes of those little baby flower things that infest everything. And the bosses are good too, especially once you take a look at the achievements that are associated along with them, because Anomalous, I think is the name of the, Anomalous is the name of the crazy void monster you were describing. And he breaks off into these shards, which if you don't kill the shards fast enough, then he becomes he heals and gets stronger, but the only way to get the achievement is to not destroy any of them. So it makes the fight ridiculously difficult because if you don't have the entire party on a high enough level to take him as he continuously gets stronger, then you can't do the achievement. So even once we were in raid gear, this achievement was still something that was difficult to accomplish, which was nice because I appreciate difficulty instead of, overly simplistic things. I will say, though, that the final boss, Karastraza, definitely left a little bit to be desired. She really wasn't too difficult in comparison to the dungeon as a whole. I remember the boogeyman of the dungeon was Anomalous, the crazy void monster. Because you have the mage chick that's in the really unique looking room who creates copies of herself and all of that. But I always remember the trash but right around her being more difficult to do than her because it was so easy to pull way too many packs at the same time that are all clustered around her and in the hallways, because the hallway has that little doorway, and if you're too close to the doorway when you shoot one group, it pulls the group that's on the other side of the doorway and then you just die. So I really just enjoyed the gameplay of this. There isn't any like game-breaking loot, but I mean, it was heroic, so you just need the loot to be able to get to places. But there was still the chance of the epics that came from this dungeon. So at least the final boss, because all of the final bosses in heroics in Wrath of the Lich King had a chance at dropping an epic, or they just did. I think they dropped one alongside their normal gear. So yeah. What do you guys think? Where are you at on the gameplay?
It's all right. Like you said, the main difficulty gameplay wise is the trash packs and handling the trash properly. That was the thing that back in the day we wiped on more than anything else, really. The only other thing worth mentioning, which, while not terribly difficult, there was Karastraza's mechanic, where she would put stacks of a debuff on you that would kill you if you didn't constantly stay moving. So that made it a very mobile fight, right. which was very interesting in an era where tank and spank was pretty much the standard. It made things a little less boring. Aside from that, there's nothing that really stands out about any of these bosses. They're just kind of there, I guess, to be bosses.
Sure. They're not bad, though.
Well, they're not bad, but they're not really good either, is what I'm saying.
Aww.
just kind of average tank and spank with era bosses.
Sure. I would...
Well, yeah, I'll go ahead, Michael.
No, you first.
Oh, no, you first.
I insist.
All right, well, I'm going to disagree with that just a little bit. I think that the bosses, you might be right, the arcane splinter guy, the tree boss, had an enrage, I think, at 50% or so, and I think he did this thing where he put out the little waves of ice that you had to move away from, to stay out of the bad, kind of tank and spank kind of thing. That wasn't too hard or difficult. I think anomalous with the minimizing in the little arcane flares popping up and needing to kill them. Yeah, not terribly interesting either. And then the mage that split into three and then threw you all around the room. I mean, that was even a little bit obnoxious because you wanted to keep on hitting her. When you hit him in the middle, you had to spam your melee range ability in order to try to land any damage on her whatsoever during that phase. A little bit infuriating. But I think what that lacks for in boss kind of originality definitely makes up for in the trash and environmental gameplay. There are even a couple examples I can come up with right off the cuff that were kind of new and groundbreaking for its time. The first one is when you go into the area where the Dragonkin are fighting the kind of void anomalies. You have these kind of arcane rifts that are attacking you with lightning. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Aggro's socially separately from the Dragonkin, so if you can pull the Dragonkin and pull them away enough, you don't have to fight the arcane rift, or you can pull it all together and you get hit with a little bit of AoE at the same time and have to DPS those things down. I mean, that was a kind of a mob that hadn't been seen before in the game up until that point. The second one is right past that area, after you get past the Dragonkin, you just have the little white void walkers walking around. When you kill those things, they burst into mana, and then it'll regenerate your mana just standing in the mana rain. Which was awesome. Awesome for healers and for, spell DPS. And that was something I'd never seen before, and actually haven't seen since, to be honest.
The only other times that I remember that was in previous expansion, which was the Burning Crusade, because the little mana guys in Karazhan did
that. Yeah, the Void Worms did do that, didn't they? Oh, okay, so there you go.
But it's still a super cool mechanic. I wish things like that did that more.
Especially because it kept things kind of moving.
Yeah. It really cut down on downtime. In comparison, I want to bring up what we reviewed last week, the Dead Mines. There was blood mages in there that would create blood zones, and anything in there both took and dealt 20... Wait, no, I just think it made it deal 25% more damage, and she targeted her own people with it. And just environmental effects like that are just more than just, don't stand here, it's bad, are very enjoyable. I think they're really cool.
The other ones I could think of were in the kind of woodsy area on the ground. Every like 8 yards were these the little pods that you saw in Dire Maul and in Ungoro Crater. And the pods will make you slow, or they spawn little tiny saplings that slow you down and stuff like that. And you have to kind of break them open as you go along. So annoying. Yeah, but after you kill the woodsy boss guy, they stop respawning. Otherwise, they respawn constantly. Really kind of tricky patrols with those big guardians in the middle make it like a tough kind of, negotiating that path required coordination, which is not exactly pug friendly, especially when it was in that era and the gear levels weren't inflated whatsoever. Definitely made it a challenging dungeon. And the last thing was that little passage where you have the frozen orc or dwarf guy, right? Those mobs don't aggro until you damage them, or was there some kind of social aggro where if you hit one, the other two nearby to him would kind of burst out? I can't remember exactly how they aggroed, but I do remember. I don't
remember either. I just remember it being atrocious.
Right, it was just like a different way, a kind of different spin on, how you start a fight with these guys. Like, oh, they're all encased in ice. Can we sneak past them? I don't think that was really an option, but I think it definitely decreased the aggro radius or changed the aggro mechanics a little bit, just to make it different, and for the sake of making it different, and also executed in a way that made sense in the context of the dungeon itself, which is like a frozen kind of arcane ice palace. And I think there was a reason. I think the quest that had you grab a book there explained why all those people were frozen into ice blocks.
Right. And one last thing I want to put onto it is that we mentioned this again last week with the Dead Mines review. I so appreciate dungeons that after the final boss, there's a door to leave. In this case, it was the front door, but it's still exactly. The door.
Yeah, in that final boss too, I mean, the achievement for the heroes, or the glory of the hero, was actually pretty cool. Was that you couldn't let the stacking ice debuff get above 2 or something, which is only a problem if she freezes you to the ground, which would invariably make it stack because you couldn't move in order to get rid of stacks, and the only way to combat that would be to have a dedicated dispeller, I believe, or be able to ice block out of it, or some kind of thing. I think Mass Dispel was a new spell around then as well, if I'm not mistaken, or was Mass Dispel from level 70?
I don't know exactly. I just remember it being awesome.
Right.
That spell is always, and I hope forever will be, awesome. 1, because my main has almost always been a priest, and 2, because that spell is awesome.
Absolutely. That we can talent it to make it cast half a second cast time.
Because it's amazing. Anyway,
that's what I think about the gameplay in place.
Now that we've rambled on enough, what would you how would you rate whatever word I end up using most of the time, the gameplay for the Nexus?
I, after having tried to defend all the boss fights, do kind of agree with Florian that it is a little bit uninspired. I do think the trash fights make up for it, so I'll give it a B. Solid B.
Wonderful. Florian?
I'm going to go for more of a B-. Once again, the bosses, not anything particularly great. While the trash fights do help to make up for it, I don't feel they're that good or that interesting.
Sure. I'm going to be giving it a B+. It might be a little bit from nostalgia glasses, I will be honest. It might be a little bit from those, but I definitely enjoyed the gameplay of this place a lot. Maybe ambience is bleeding in a little bit because, like, the flow of the dungeon, I feel, is just really well paced. This is one of the few dungeons I can say that I really enjoyed the trash, and that's a big deal. But unfortunately, the bosses fall short. So, B+ from my end, gives gameplay a solid B, and Florian, step us into lore, please.
Alright. So, the lore of the Nexus is not terribly complicated, and there isn't terribly much of it either. But it was one of the major story points of the entire Wrath of the Lich King expansion, aside from the whole Lich King thing, of course.
Right.
So apparently Malagos decided to withdraw from Azeroth for a while and was doing his own thing. And when he came back, he noticed that a lot of people were using magic. He was not excited about this, so he decided to become the sole proprietor, if that makes any sense, of magic in Azeroth, and started redirecting the world's ley lines to all go towards the Nexus, which was going to be like magic central for all of Azeroth. Unfortunately, yeah, but unfortunately, that's not very good for the rest of Azeroth because it kind of needs the magic that's part of, its fabric of existence.
Sure.
So yeah, somebody had to go deal with that, and that job fell to us, I suppose. And that's most of what it boils down to. There's some bosses. The only boss that really has any lore is Karastraza, who was previously from the Red Dragonflight, and well, I guess she's still technically in the Red Dragonflight. I don't know if she's changed flights, but Malagos he had some sort of beef with her over the death of another dragon, and he was trying to, I guess, convert her into his consort. I'm not sure how freezing her was supposed to accomplish this, but I'm not an immortal dragon. I don't plan on that level. So yeah, it's some weird lore and weird plans with very vaguely defined goals going on here.
I don't know. Saving her for later?
Maybe?
If that's not creepy enough.
That kind of seems like what's going on there, but I don't understand the end plan. But then again, most WoW villains, I really don't understand what their final goal is supposed to be, besides just generic being evil.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Maybe.
It's the only thing I can really think of, is just that some men want to watch the world burn. Or, like, Malagos was trying, which this kind of bleeds into the Eye of Eternity. He's trying to protect the magic because he thinks we're going to use it wrong. And he's going to destroy everything, and the Nexus is part of that, because they're drawing essentially the magic of the world to the Nexus via the ley lines. So, I don't know, it's one of those, like, bad guys that are doing something bad for a better cause, that what they think is a better cause.
Maybe. It still seems like a very, very strange and vaguely defined plan to me, but, I didn't major in wizardry, so I don't know how all that works.
Right.
I'm just going to assume that there was profit at the end of that somewhere.
It depends on your definition of profit, I suppose. What do you think, Evan?
I think it's a pretty good story for a dungeon to have. It's not too crazy complicated. It's pretty straightforward. I don't feel like I'm necessarily saving the world until you get to the raid aspect. I think this little tiny 5-man is more just about freezing Karastraza, and you go through the whole damn dungeon in order to kind of unlock her prison. Everything else you kill along the way just seems like collateral damage. I wish they had addressed the void instability, and I think they do. I was looking at some of the quests right here, and I think that one is called the Quickening? No, that's where you're collecting the arcane splinters for whatever. So yeah, there's a quest that helps you understand a little bit more about all of these little subsections. I did see that when you go over and kill the dwarf or orc, it is because the chick wants some research, and she made the mistake of discussing the research with a group of Horde/Alliance adventurers, and they must have took it, so go and grab it back from them. Of course, they've already met a cruel fate, or a cool fate, if you will.
You went there. You had to go there, didn't you? God.
Yeah, the Terragosa, who gives you this quest originally outside of Koldara, or originally outside of Koldara. I think they might have relocated that quest to give her to the inside of the dungeon. Terragostas, isn't that the name of the weapon that you get at the end of this expansion?
The name of the weapon is Dragon Wrath, Terragosa's Wrath, or Dragon something. But Terragosa is...
Rest?
Yeah, thank you.
Rest.
Dragon Wrath, Terragosa's Rest. And, you know, she is a, you know, big, bad blue dragon, although I'm not entirely sure of her origin.
She tells you, let's see. Oh, she wants you to go into the rift, and after you kill the, wait, never mind, I'm getting mixed up here. That doesn't make any sense. She talks about the death of Malygos. Okay, I should have done this homework before we started talking about the place. Anyway, yeah, you have to go peer into this rift at the end of the platform where everything is getting sucked and twisted. Like, there are all these floating stone octagonal platforms, and they kind of float around in the area where there's all these kind of rift anomalies. You get this... in the distance is this platform, just like the other ones you're standing on, except it's kind of warped and bent like a Salvador Dali painting. And it's pretty cool in there. But that doesn't have very much to do with lore. She was talking about this person, Anacros, and in this quest text, I know this guy's name is Anacros. I know the device you carry, and I recognize Anachronos' magic in its creation. There's only one place in all of Koldara that would allow this timeless eye to be used discreetly. And I think that's what she was talking about.
Maybe? I don't know.
Look into the Eye of Eternity at the Nether Vortex in the Nexus is the quest objectives for that. So yeah, but I think that might be a totally different quest. That might not be what I'm looking for at all. WoW has got me through this crazy loop, and I'm looking at things. The name of that quest is called Through a Glass Darkly, which is a reference to A Scanner Darkly, which is an old book written by a Richard... Jeez. Can't remember. But if you guys have seen that one, it is... made into a movie as well. Philip Dick also wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which I believe is also referenced in a Blizzard quest or achievement name. I apologize. It's getting a little bit late. I'm getting a little bit tired, so my thoughts are like strung together like wire glued to aluminum foil.
Don't.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think the Blue Dragonflight story is pretty cool. Kind of sad. It's another kind of story where people try to do the right thing, but to everybody else, they appear to be a lunatic. Which, how many times have we seen this in Warcraft in general?
A lot. So what then, Florian, would you give lore for a grade?
I'd probably give it a B. It's serviceable lore. There's enough important stuff going on there that it's worth going there. But this dungeon doesn't really tie into a major event. It's not the Eye of Eternity itself. And it's got 3 of those bosses that you and I both hate, where it's just boss number 27 with absolutely no lore.
Sure. Well, and the Grand Magus, she's rumored to have tutored Kael'thas. Yeah, what? No. That seems completely pulled out of nowhere. Anomalous, I actually like Anomalus's. His lore is very basic. He's, one of the things that came out of the Terrace from them funneling too much magic there. And what is Ormorox? The incredible arcane energies of the Nexus have transformed the Singing Gardens and its gardens. Ormorox's simple mind has become obsessed with the energies. For those who would interrupt his contemplations, he has few words, but a mountain of violence. Why do we even bother this guy, then?
Oh,
that is a good question.
Because those annoying freaking saplings kept on slowing us down and getting into that place, and he was the one that was spawning him over and over again. That's why.
Well, you have to kill him in order to be able to fight the final boss, because of that thing that keeps Gareth Straza frozen. Sure. Whatever that thing is, and however it's designed. apparently it has something to do with him. I don't.
Magic orbs.
I don't really understand how this place is run or organized.
Oh, I'll tell you why I killed him. I was on my enhancement shaman. He dropped my Draconid arm blade.
Is that the cool-looking fist weapon?
The cool claw fist.
That thing's wicked awesome. I got it on my run through before this review.
Wait,
yeah, the left hand drops in one dungeon, the right hand drops in the other between the Nexus and Utgard Keep, which I think was a pretty cool way to start off that expansion.
I'm apparently not seeing this.
I think it's called the Draconid arm blade. Or that might be what it's called.
Wait, is it on normal?
Yeah.
Draconid arm blade?
Yeah, the Draconid arm blade, the cool. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it has a mate that drops in Utgard Keep, which is the other first dungeon you guys get to, and it's cool because you had the kind of option of going to the Howling Ford or the Borean Tundra, and these are the two kind of introductory dungeons of those zones. So that's a pretty cool tip of the hat there to Blizzard for giving enhancement shamans and rogues a reason to go to both of these.
So then, what did you actually say? Grade, Florian, or did I miss it?
I did. I gave it a B.
Okay. What about you, Evan? Where are you sitting at?
Oh, I'm gonna go Florian's good judgment and also give it a B.
Okay, and I will be doing the same. I'm gonna go on the air of B minus though, because like the thing as total is like if we rated the lore on the entire thing, I think it might shift a little bit. But this place in general is strained a little bit just because there's so much here that isn't relevant to the grand scheme of everything that's happening inside the Nexus. So that's lame. But there's still good lore in here that contributes to the story as a whole. So, B minus for me as well. Says it is a flat B. This is a very B dungeon. We gave it ambience an A, but B is on the other one. Says this is a B plus. It's a very just, here dungeon, I guess is the best thing. It's not crap. It's better than average, but it's definitely not going to dazzle us in any way. I think it's where we're sitting, right?
Yep. Sounds solid.
Wonderful. So, let's move on and go ahead and start getting out of here, right? That is the end of the show, everybody. Thank you so much. As we've said multiple times now, we love feedback. We want as much of it as we can. That feedback you can send to us as much as you want, whenever you want. Email us at thecastbar@gmail.com. Send us a tweet at castbarpodcast. Call and leave us a voicemail at 508-738-2278. You can find all of our shows on iTunes and Stitcher and YouTube. If there's somewhere else you would like it to be, please let me know. I'll do what I can to get it there for you. The music for our bumpers is done by Kevin MacLeod. You can find all of his work at incomtech.com. It's all licensed under Creative Commons. So I just need to give him credit and I'm allowed to use it. Otherwise, I can buy it and not give him credit. Again, we spoke earlier about how money is something that, if you can save it where you can, I don't mind giving him credit during the show. Maybe later I'll buy his stuff. Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. Anyway, if you'd like to get a hold of me, my Twitter is at SchwahnMichael, SchwahnMichael. I'm on there intermittently. Some days I'm incredibly active. Some days I'm just not active at all. So it's kind of up in the air on that one. Evan, where are people able to find you? And did you even bother to work on the dwarf?
Yeah, you can find me at Twitter, not at Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at ETCWow. If you want to drop me a line, tag me, retweet any of my favorite posts. That's fine with me. You can also find me on Proudmoore server, Alliance side, level 19 Dwarf Hunter of legal age. Bunny,
good job.
Bunny Girl with a U. Bunny Girl. Here at Lochmadon, in the inn, I have a special rate reserved for my rooms, with or without bunny ears. All hours of the night, just drop me a line.
I will head your way.
Ooh, first client.
What about you, Florian? Where are people able to find you at?
The easiest way to find me is to email the Castbar, which you should be doing with reader mail. Or not reader mail, listener
God,
mail.
he's so upfront about it. Like, do it.
Yeah, so I want to answer some questions.
Florian likes questions. I like questions. Feedback is appreciated, and we will do what we can with it. But honestly, we really like feedback, and we really like questions. Questions are wonderful.
Yep. So if you absolutely don't want to send a question, you can follow me on Twitter at Phalanx, spelled F-A-L-A-N-G-X. But, yeah,
Please
send us stuff.
questions.
Yes. No, please, just do it. It gets you a better show, and it gets us something to do. Everyone wins.
I totally agree. Anyway, it is time for us to go. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for any feedback you might even consider sending us. You're welcome to send it to us. You really are. And please don't forget to enter our giveaway. The link is probably anywhere that you possibly found this, as well as anywhere that you just search the Castbar podcast, and I guarantee you it'll be on one of those. So, enter, because mounts are cool, and it's free for you. Don't worry about what the cost is for us. That's not important. Point is, it's free for you. All right, let's get out of here.
Aid me! Something you doing? Grant me your strength. No time for play. Me busy. Leave me alone. Gah! Animality. Me not that kind of orc. Sweet. Gah!